Hi, in this video we are going to look at another method or another part of alignment creation tools, that is floating entities. Floating entity means it is something different from the fixed entities. In fixed entities we don't have any constraints because they are fixed. They don't depend on other entities. In case of floating entities, one side of the floating entity depends on another entity, mainly a fixed entity or another floating entity. That means when it is changed, or when a floating entity is going to change, it depends on another entity when it is changing. We will see how to do that. So I have already created the alignment here. Now I am going to add the floating entity here. Now this alignment is created from alignment creation tools. This is a fixed line. So to add the floating entity parts, I need the alignment creation toolbar that can be obtained by selecting alignment and right clicking, then edit alignment geometry. If accidentally you close this window, you can get it back by selecting the relevant alignment and right click and go by going to edit alignment geometry. Now I am going to add the floating entity. To do that, I go to this curve option because I am going to add a curve to this alignment. Before that, I am going to try to find out which direction this alignment is going. I place my cursor here. It is 82 at the bottom, you can see. Then it is 400. The station is 400 at the bottom. So it is going this way. So I am going to add a curve here. I select this option. Then I am going to this option, floating curve from entity, radius, through point. I select this. Then it is asking select entity to attach to. I select this entity, which is a fixed entity. Then it is asking the radius. I will type my radius as 2000, a fairly large radius. Then it is asking whether your curve solution is less than or greater than 180. Most of the times, that means about 99% of the times, we get less than 180 option. So I press less than 180. Then it is asking where is your end point. So while I am going to select my end point, you will see my alignment is moving, but it is always maintaining a tangency with the fixed entity. That is why we call this as a floating entity. It is floating with that connection entity. So I press here to end my entity. So I have a floating entity to this one. Now my floating curve has finished. I press enter. Then I am going to add another floating entity to this. The first one what we added was floating curve from entity, radius, through point. From entity means it is not going to be at the end of that entity. It is maintaining the direction only, but it can be anywhere from that entity. This time we are going to this option, from entity end through point. That means this option will be continued from the end of that particular entity. That means when you select this one, it is asking select entity to attach to. I select this one. Then it will go from this end point. It will start my other curve from this end point. So through point means I can select where to stop this curve. So I will stop this curve here. Some additional thing I will have to tell here. Before that I press escape. If you have a curve like this and another curve like this, we call them reverse curves. If you have a curve that is going in the same direction like this one, you call it a compound curve. This time this is a reverse curve. Now I am going to add a floating line. So far we have added floating curves. Now I am going to add a floating line to this curve. To do that, I select here, select this drop down, then I select floating line from curve through point. I select that option. Then it is asking in the command line select entity to attach to. I select this curve. Then I can select a point where my line needs to be ended. Right, that is about floating lines and floating curves, or in other words, that is about floating entities. In the next video we will be discussing about free entities. Hi, in this video we are going to look at free entities. So far we have discussed fixed entities and floating entities. This time we are going to look at free entities. In free entities, what is the difference? The difference from the previous two is the free entities are constrained by both sides. That means it depends on two sides, or it depends on the parameters of both straight or curved sections either side of that entity. We will look how it is. I select this alignment, then I go to edit alignment geometry. You can go it from here, or also you can go it from here. Now I am going to have a free curve here. I select this curve drop down. I use free curve fillet between two entities through point. Also you can use radius option also. I use this one. Then I select my first entity at the left and my second entity at the right, and I can select where to stop. I will stop somewhere here because I am using the through point option. I will stop here. Then I press enter to end the command. We call this free entity because this curve depends on both these two straights. That is why we call it a free entity. It is constrained by two other entities either side of that. Even though we call it free, it is not actually free. It is depending on two other entities. Now we have seen how to create a free entity from a through point option. Also you can use radius option to create a free curve fillet. Then I will do a free line here. To do that, I go to this line options and use this free line between two curves option. This is the only option we have for free lines. The free lines can be drawn between two curves only. So I select this option. As the first entity, I select my curve at the left. For the next entity, I select my curve at the right. Then a free line will be drawn. So that is about free entities. So when you are creating an alignment, you can use all these types. That means so far we have learned fixed entities, floating entities and free entities. You can use all these types to create your alignment. Hi, in this video we are going to practice all the alignment creation methods we learned in the previous videos. That means alignment creation tool methods with fixed, free and floating entities. In my drawing I have a line created and I have given few steps so that you can use these steps to create your alignment. So we will be creating the alignment using these steps. So before doing that, I want you to set your object snaps in such a way that it will not disturb you when creating the alignment, as well as it will help you to create the alignment. To do that, press shift key on your keyboard. While pressing shift key, right click on your mouse button and go to object snap settings or snap settings. Then make sure only endpoint and nearest are turned on. I have intersection turned on. I will uncheck that one. I have only nearest and endpoint turned on. Then I click OK. Then I go to create alignment from alignment creation tools. Then I accept the default. For the moment I will turn off the labels. Anyway, I will make the labels on and I click OK. Then my first option is to start the alignment with fixed line 2 points, these 2 points. So I go here, fixed line 2 points. This is my first endpoint and this is my second endpoint. The snapping helps me to find out the correct endpoint. Then I click here, then press enter. You can see my stationing also appears. Then my second point is fixed curve from entity end through point. So you have curve here. This is the one we have to find, fixed curve from entity end through point. So the curve will be created from the end of this entity, and the true point will be the end of this curve. Now we can see the stationing continues. Now our number 3 is here. It is a fixed curve 3 point. It's a fixed curve 3 point. Then number 4 is free line between two curves. Free line, you can have it here. You select the first entity as, then now it is asking for the second entity. Before that I have to do something. I will turn off this tangent lines. That is why it is not coming. I turn off that. Now I go to that command. First I select this one, then I select this one. You can see the line created. Then I press escape. You can see the stationing continues. Then my number 5 is floating line from curve through point. Here floating line from curve through point, this one. Click this one and my alignment will pass through this point. So I press enter. Then my number 6 is floating curve from entity N through point. Here, floating curve from entity N through point. My endpoint is here and my true point is somewhere here. Then my number 7 is floating curve from entity radius through point. Here I have floating curves here from entity radius through point. So I am selecting my first entity. Then it is asking for my radius. Radius is given as 150 here. So I type 150 here. Then it is asking for the solution angle. Usually it is coming as less than 180. This curve is a reverse curve. It is asking whether the curve is compound or reverse. This is a reverse curve. So I type R to accept the reverse curve. Then it is asking to specify the end point. So your end point will be here. Then number 8 is floating line from curve through point. This one earlier we did also. Select this one and go to the endpoint here. Then number 9, it is a fairly new command, floating curve from entity through point direction at point. So it is here, floating curve from entity through point direction at point. I select this option and it is coming from this one, and this is the endpoint of the curve, and direction is given by the direction of this line. So I have to select a point along this line. My nearest object snap helped me to select that line. So I click this and press enter. So my curve appears as like this. Finally, I go with floating line from curve through point. We did that one earlier also. So we did that earlier also. So that command is highlighted here. We don't need to go and select from here. It is already highlighted. You can see here from this check mark. So instead of going this drop down, we click here. Then I click this endpoint of the curve and click the endpoint of this line to complete the alignment. So that is a complete practice of the alignment creation tools we have learned so far. So you can practice on your own and get more experience on this. That is about alignment creation tools with Civil 3D alignment creation. Hello, in this video we are going to look at how to create alignment from tangent and curves. We already seen alignment creation tools and creating alignment with alignment creation tools from fixed entities, free entities and floating entities. But here what we are looking at is an extension of alignment creation tools, but it will automatically create tangents and curves when we are drawing the alignment. So to do that, we go as usual from here, alignment creation tools, and you give a name here. You can set a style here. I set layout style for the moment and I click OK. So before doing anything, I have to show these things to you. From this option, you can draw only tangent, and from this option you can draw tangent with curves. When the curves are incorporated, you can set the curve radius from here, curve and spiral settings. If I click here, you have my default radius is 200. So when we are creating automatic curves, the radius would be 200 here. So I click OK. So here I would go with this option for this example, and also you can try with this one because it has no curves. So I click here, then it is asking my starting point. I click here, it is asking my next point. So I zoom a bit and click somewhere here. Then it is asking for the next point. So when I click for the next point, you will see an automatic curve is adding. An automatic curve is adding. So I click here. Again, I go to the other side. You can see an automatic curve is adding. And also you can move somewhere again outside. So now you can see how it works. That is about creating alignment from tangent with curves. Also you can try tangents without curves. I press enter to end the command. So that is about creating alignment from tangents with curves. It is automatic curves where we have a pre-specified radius for the curve. In this video we are going to look at how to add spirals to our alignment. This is some special part in Civil 3D alignments, adding spirals, because so far we have learned alignment, tangents and curves, but spirals is also one of the important part of alignments. A spiral means a curve, but if you consider a curve, you have a known radius for that curve, but if you consider a spiral, it has a changing radius. When you have a spiral, its radius changes from infinity. Infinity means a straight section to the desired curve value. So the radius changes from infinity to a number which we know, or a radius which we know. First we will add a spiral curve to this alignment. I select this alignment. This is my alignment direction. Even though the labels are not on, I will turn on the labels for easy clarification, so that you know now my alignment is going from this side to this side. Then I select my alignment and go to floating curve with spiral. It is somewhere here, floating curve with spiral. So I will use floating curve spiral from entity radius through point option. I select this entity and my radius I will type it as 650. Then it is asking for the spiral length. Let us say it is 40 meters. Now so curve solution is less than 180. Then it is asking a true point where my radius have to stop. So you have this curve as well as my spiral. Then I press enter so that the alignment stationing continues. So you should see the labels here. This is 1037 and this is 1077. That means you have 40 meter spiral and this is 650 radius curve. Then I am going to add another curve here. Sorry, I am going to add a line with a spiral. So I select this option, floating line with spiral from curve and through point. I select here, then I press this curve. It is asking my spiral length. As the same previous one, I select 40 as my spiral length. Then it is asking for a through point where I need the line to go. I select this point and press enter. You can see my alignment continues and another spiral is added here. Then I will add a spiral to this point, 2 spirals before the start and end of the before the end. So I go here, free spiral curve spiral between 2 entities option. As the first entity, I select my left side of that entity and then the right side entity. It is asking the solution angle. It will be less than 180. It is asking for my radius. Let us say it is 600 meters. Then it is asking my spiral in length. I type it as 40. These spiral lengths can be calculated using highway design or highway engineering theories. So you have to select the proper value for these spiral lengths. I am just arbitrarily typing 40, but you have in designing you have to get the correct value for these spirals as well as this radius also. So I press 40, select 40 as my spiral in length. Then it is asking what is my spiral out length. I use 40 for the same as in the previous in spiral. So our spiral out length will be also 40 meters. Now I press enter to end the command. You can see another 2 spirals to the start and end of the curve appeared. Now that was a curve with spirals between 2 entities. So that's about adding spirals to your alignment. So you will be using them someday when you are designing with Civil 3D alignments. So there are so many options to practice. You can use these options to practice and see what will be done by these various options. So that's about use of spirals in Civil 3D alignments.